Hi everyone, welcome back to another sewing tutorial. If you are new here, my name is Julia and I'm the person behind the GENOW Patterns. I create sewing tutorials and patterns to help you on your sewing journey. In today's video, I will show you step by step how to make a dress using my Laura dress pattern. This dress features a v-neck and is cut on the bias. You can make this dress in a mini or midi length. Additionally, there are 3 finishing options to choose from. In this tutorial, I will be showing the unlined dress. For the fully lined dress, I will leave a link in the description, and for the option with fully bodice lined, you will have to watch both videos. First up, we have the unlined dress. This option is perfect if your fabric isn't transparent and you want a light dress for summer. With this option, the armholes and neckline are finished with bias binding. This option may be difficult for super beginners because attaching the bias binding requires precision as it likes to stretch out. But don't worry, I will walk you through each step so you can decide if it's the right option for you. Next, we have the fully lined dress. In this option, the bodice and skirt are lined, making it perfect for a more elegant gown. The lining adds a beautiful finish and makes the dress feel more luxurious. As you can see, the lining skirt is 3 cm shorter than the main skirt, so keep that in mind. And now my favorite option, the lined bodice dress. This version combines the first option with the second one. You get the nicely finished armholes and neckline by the double lined bodice, but the skirt is unlined, which is perfect if your fabric isn't too transparent. For this dress, you need to follow the steps for the first and second options, and you can find in the sewing instructions which exact steps to follow. Let me show you the difference in finishing between the fully lined dress and the option with double lining only on the bodice. For the fully lined dress, when attaching the bodice to the skirt, we sew at 8 mm and then at 1 cm to cover the previous stitch, giving it a really nice and elegant finish. But for the double lined bodice dress, at this step we sew directly at 1 cm and then overlock the waistline for a clean finish, like in the dress with the bias binding. So basically, for the last finishing option, you follow the tutorial for the bodice from the lined dress. Once you reach the step where you attach the bodice to the skirt, follow the steps for the unlined dress. I think I explained the most important part, so now let's move on the tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, which will really help me to grow and create more sewing tutorials for you. So let's get started. First step is to cut out the pattern pieces from the main fabric and remember to cut the notches. Once you cut out the pattern pieces, take your bodice front and back pieces of the main fabric. Lay your fabric pieces flat with the wrong side facing up. Before placing the interfacing tape, ensure that the front and back panels of your garment align with the pattern correctly. It's important not to stretch the fabric while using the interfacing. Instead, adjust the tape to fit the panel accurately. Place the straight-grained interfacing tape with the fusible side onto the wrong side of the main fabric. Align it with the neckline on the front and back pieces. Then ensure that the edges of the interfacing and the fabric match up. To fuse the interfacing, use a hot iron with no steam. Apply firm and even pressure, moving the iron gently back and forth until the interfacing firmly attaches to the fabric. Once the interfacing is securely fused, you can trim any excess interfacing that extends beyond the fabric edges. I would like to add that since bias cut fabric has more stretch than fabric cut on the straight grain, interfacing tape helps maintain the neckline's shape and structure, ensuring it lays properly on the body. Once you've used the interfacing tape, place the body's back panel onto the front panel of the main fabric, aligning the shoulder edges with the right sides facing each other. Pin them in place securely. Sew the arm edges with a 1 cm seam allowance and overlong the seam. Now press the seams towards the back. Take a piece of bias tape for the neckline and fold it in half with the wrong side spacing, then press it flat. Unfold the bias tape for the neckline and fold each edge towards the center line, pressing them down on each side. Now repeat the last two steps for the bias tape for the armholes, and at this stage you should have prepared 4 bias tapes in total, 2 for the neckline and 2 for the armholes. Next step is to attach the bias tape to the neckline. Bias tape cut on the bias tends to stretch, so once you have prepared your bias tape and you compared it to the neckline edge on the bodice, you will notice that it's much longer. The bias tape on the pattern piece has the same length as the neckline edge, but the neckline edge has been stabilized with interfacing tape in the previous step, while the bias tape stretch out during pressing. So don't cut the excess bias tape, instead use your fingers to gently adjust the bias tape back to its original length, align it with the length of the neckline. You will see that the bias tape shortens as you do this, and then place the bias tape on the neckline edges with the right side facing. Open one fold of the tape and align it with the raw edge of the bodice panel's neckline, ensuring the right sides are facing each other. Pin it in place. Now sew the bias tape to the neckline following the crease close to the edge of the garment, approximately 5 mm from the edge. Turn the bias tape to the right side and understitch it, catching the seam allowance. Stitch 1 mm from the edge of the tape on the right side. Fold the bias tape where it naturally creases, then fold it in half over the seam allowance and press. Then fold it again towards the wrong side of the garment and press once more. Then pin the bias tape in place. top, stitch the bias tape close to the edge from the inside, approximately 7 mm from the edge. Now press the bias tape for a final finish. Now you can trim any excess of the bias tape. It may extend a little bit, but if the bias extends much more, it means that you could have incorrectly attached it in the previous step. Now repeat the process of attaching the bias tape to the armhole. In the video you can see that the bias tape initially appeared longer. However, after adjusting the bias with fingers to match the length of the armhole edge, it now has the same length. I didn't trim any excess from the bias, so keep it in mind. Sew the bias tape to the armhole, following the crease close to the edge of the garment, approximately 5 mm from the edge. Turn the bias tape to the right side and understitch it, catching the seam allowance. Stitch 1 mm from the edge of the tape on the right side. Now fold the bias tape where it naturally creases and press. Now fold the body so that the side seams are aligned with the right sides together. Start by lining the bias tape edge, ensuring that the bias tape seam of the back edge matches perfectly with the bias tape on the front edge. Then align all the way down the side seams and pin them in place. Sew the edges of the side seam together with a 1 cm seam allowance and overlock the edge. Press the seam towards the back. Unfold the pressed bias tape on the side seam. Clip the overlocked edge of the seam allowance in the middle of the bias tape without cutting through the stitching line. Allow one half of the seam allowance to go to the right and the other half to the left for a flatter seam, then press it flat. Fold the bias tape where it naturally creases on the side seam, as we unfolded in the previous step, then fold it in half over the seam allowance and press. Now, fold it again towards the wrong side of the garment and press once more. Finally, pin the tape in place. Now top stitch the bias tape close to the edge from the inside, approximately 7 mm from the edge. Press the bias tape for a final finish. Ensure that the points where the gathering starts and ends on the bust are marked according to the pattern piece. The next step is to gather the bust. Set the longest stitch length on your sewing machine. Starting at one marked point, stitch a row of stitching 5 mm away from the edge to the other marked point. Do not backstitch at the beginning and the end, and leave long thread tails. Stitch another row of stitching below the first one, approximately 5 mm away from the first row. This creates 2 rows of stitching on the bust. The next step is to secure the thread tails on the cider closer to the neckline by tying together the 2 rows of stitching for the top and bottom threads. This will prevent the gathering from coming loose and ensure it stays in place on one side of the gathering. On the other side of the gathers, without a knot, gently pull the fabric along the threads to create gathers. Adjust the gathers as needed until the desired fullness is achieved. Also, we'll adjust the length of the gathers later when attaching the bodice to the skirt, so make sure to keep this side of the thread untied for future adjustments. Press the gathers with an iron. This will help to set the gathers in place and make sewing easier in the next step. Fold the straps in half lengthways with right sides facing, aligning the long edges and press them. Sew along the long edge of each fabric strap, leaving the ends open, so approximately 8 mm from the edge to ensure a secure and a flexible seam, creating a tube-like shape for the tie-ups. Trim away the excess seam allowance, then carefully turn each fabric tube right side out using a turning tool or a safety pin. Push the fabric through the tube until it is completely turned. Now press the straps flat, ensuring the seam is centered along one side. The side where the seam is visible will be considered the wrong side, while the opposite side where no seam is visible will be the right side. Now let's attach the straps to the skirt. Measure 1.5 cm from the top edge on the side edge of the front skirt panel and mark the placement for the strap. Place the fabric strap below the marked point with the right side facing up. Pin the ends of the fabric strap horizontally in place. Stitch the pin ends of each strap onto the skirt either by hand or using a sewing machine, ensuring to sew close to the edge. Once you have sewn the straps, check that they match on both sides of the skirt. Now repin the straps already sewn horizontally, ensuring they are in the proper direction for sewing. Keep the front skirt panel with the right sides facing up. Then place the back panel on top of the front panel with the right sides together. Align the side seams and pin all edges accordingly. Once the skirt panels are positioned correctly, hold each strap horizontally, remove the pin from the strap, and then repin it at the top to secure the strap in place. Sew the side seams using a 1 cm seam allowance. Then overlock the edges and press the seams toward the back. The next step is to attach the bodies to the skirt. So lay your skirt right side out, take one side of the bodies and place it on top of the skirt with the right sides facing each other. Begin by pinning the gutter section of the bodies to the corresponding section on the skirt. Align the knot on the front skirt panel closer to the center edge with the gathering knot on the bodies closer to the neckline and pin it in place. Next, pin the second knot of the gathering on the skirt panel closer to the side seam and adjust the gathering on the bust as needed using the notches on the front skirt panel as a guide. Once these points are pinned, move on to the pinning the side seams of the bodies to the side seams of the skirt, ensuring they are properly aligned. Finally, place the corners of the bodies at the center of the front and back of the skirt and pin the entire bodies to the skirt. Sew around the edges of the bodice and skirt with a 1 cm seam allowance, ensuring you backstitch securely at the corners on both the front and back of the bodice. Now place the second bodice onto the skirt in the same way as before. Make sure to focus on the center of the dress, ensuring that the corners of the bodice create a triangular shape. Then sew around the edges of the bodice and skirt with a 1 cm seam allowance. Begin sewing from one corner to another. You can turn the previously sewn bodice to the right side for easier sewing. Also make sure to sew the corners in the same line as the previous bodice. Ensure that you have sewn the corners of the bodice properly, leaving a small space between the corners. To secure the corner, begin sewing approximately 2 cm from one side of the corner. Continue sewing until you reach the center point where both bodice pieces meet. Place the needle in the center of the corner, leave the presser foot and pivot the fabric 90 degrees. Lower the presser foot and continue sewing along the edge of the bodice, approximately 2 cm from the corner. Make sure to backstitch at the beginning at the end to secure the seam. This technique secures the corner, keeping it strong during wearing. Now overlock the entire seam, place the fabric under the presser foot of your overlock machine, begin overlocking from one corner of the seam to the opposite corner. Once you reach the end, carefully remove the fabric from the machine. Now reposition the fabric to start overlocking the second side, begin from the next corner. Overlock from corner to corner on the second side. Leave a long tail of threads at the corners, make the knot and trim the excess. In this step, press the entire body seam towards the dress to ensure a smooth finish. Now overlap the corner seam allowances by placing one corner over the other. It doesn't matter which side is on top, choose the option you prefer and looks better. Hold the corners together and hand stitch to secure them in place. After that, press it for the final finish. The next step is to remove the gathering stitches from the bust, then press it to achieve the final look. The last step is to hem the bottom of the dress. Before the final fitting and hemming, especially for dresses and skirts cut on the bias, let the garment hang for 24 hours. Allowing it to hang ensures the fabric settles and stretches naturally. You can finish the bottom hem with either a rolled hem or a single folded hem. I will finish this dress with a single fold hem. So finish the bottom edge of the skirt with an overlock stitch. Press the overlocked edge, then fold it inward by about 7 mm depending on the width of your overlock, and then press again. Top stitch approximately 5 mm from the edge, adjusting based on the width of your overlock. Press the hem of the dress for the final finish. Fold the raw edges of the open edge of the strap inward by approximately 5 mm and press. Now hand stitch the open edge for a clean hidden seam, and after this step press the tube again for the final finish. Here's the final result of the unlined dress. I hope this tutorial helped you understand how to attach bias tape to your dress. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more tutorials. Thank you for watching and happy sewing!